Hello again, everyone. Today I'm going to show you how to throw a plate on the pottery wheel. We'll just do a small plate for now, but the technique applies to larger plates as well if you want to do bigger pieces of clay. First you're going to take your ball, whack it onto the center, right? Start your centering process. If you need a reminder on how to center your clay, I have a video on that too. I won't go over it right now, but if you want to check that out to learn how to center, feel free. I always like to cone up and down at least twice just to make sure that my clay is nice and consistent. Alright, once you feel like you're nice and centered, we can go ahead and start making our plate. With most other things, you make a hole in the top and open it up, but for a plate, you just compress down. So I take my left hand and I cup it around the outside. I make a fist with my right hand, and I'm going to use this lower part of my hand here to compress down on top of the clay. My left hand is just making sure that as I compress down, it's staying fairly symmetrical and round. Once I get down to about this point, maybe an inch thick, I start to slowly pull my hand backwards towards me. This helps to expand your clay outwards. From here, I like to compress my plate, just like we compress the insides of our bowls or mugs or whatever. We should compress our plate. It's pretty much all base, so you want to compress the whole thing. I stop just before the rim though. I leave this area a little thicker. So I hold my sponge with two hands like this. I start in my center, and I very slowly compress backwards towards me, stopping just before the rim, and then I work my way back to center. I find working your way back to center helps work out the little bump that can sometimes rise up in the center of your plate, and you don't want that. You don't want all of your sauces or water pooling to the outer edge. Take your time with this. Make sure that it feels really nice and flat. If anything, I don't mind it dipping a little towards the middle, but I don't like it to be rising in the center. Okay, that feels good to me. From here, because we left our rim a little thick, I like to take my thumb and I use it like a wedge. I support it with two hands, and I just take my thumb and I stick it right under that lip to raise an edge that I can kind of grab onto. Now I'm just adding water underneath by letting it slide down my hand under the rim. I can slow my wheel down, and I can do some nice little pulls. I like my plates to kind of have a bit of a raised rim for catching anything, mostly sauce, or if I'm going to put it under a planter, water, if I'm going to make it into a butter dish. It keeps everything contained. But you can have yours flare out flatter, you can have it come up straighter, more like a wall. Do whatever feels nice to you. Okay, that's pretty much it. If you want to, I like doing this because it looks nice and decorative. You can take your finger, hold it in the center of your plate, press down a little, and then fairly quickly pull it across your base. And you can just put a little spiral in the bottom. I think it looks really nice when you apply glaze Adds a good texture. And then I just gently run my sponge over it to make sure it's not too sharp or too raised. And then you're gonna just trim a little. You don't need much, but clean up under the plate. Put a little glue on there. Get that off. And that's it. It seems simple, and it is kind of simple, but the main thing to focus on is your compression. Make sure you compress it really nice and even. You want a really even bottom. If you have a really thin spot and then really thick spots, you can tend to develop cracks through the center of your plate. Or let's say it's thicker in the middle and then it dips near the edge, you can get a crack around here. So be careful. Try and make sure it's nice and flat and even. So that's the plate.